Westphalia, Germany, is where Candide was born and where he spent the entirety of his childhood. Here, he was taught by Pangloss the philosopher, which would explain Candide's somewhat naive outlook on life. Pangloss's name actually means a person that is optimistic regardless of the circumstances. He is the illegitimate nephew to a German baron. Candide lived in a castle where he had fallen in love with the baron's daughter, Miss Cunegonde, who had developed feelings for him as well until he got kicked out when the two of them were caught kissing, leaving him on the streets as an orphan fending for himself. Things do not start off well for Candide. Candide eventually wanders off to Waldburghof-Charp-Dickdorf, where he is found and trained for the Bulgar army, despite being a peaceful fellow. Being the naive guy he was out on a stroll one day and was caught and accused of deserting the group. He was then brutally beaten before eventually being forgiven by the king. Engaged in a horrific battle he was forced to partake in between the Bulgars and the Abaris, Candide was so mortified that he decided to flee the scene to Holland. Candide then arrives in Holland, where he meets a minister. Unfortunately, the minister does not agree with his ideals, so he then assaults him. Candide then comes across Jacques, who is an Anabaptist who is far more polite than the minister, which is extremely ironic since the minister should be far more accepting. What's even worse is that his mentor tells him that Cunegonde and her family have been brutally murdered, which should diminish the extremely optimistic outlook Candide possesses. Jacques then guides Candide and Pangloss together, and they visit Lisbon in Portugal, but the boat ride there is not the greatest, to say the least. All is going well until a rainstorm greets Candide and Jacques on their way to Lisbon. Jacques dies during the storm trying to save another man, which seems to be yet another blow to religion in general, showing that being religious does not guarantee someone's moral compass. Things get even worse when they arrive in Lisbon, as there is a massive earthquake. This shows that there are always complications for Candide in his travels, one after another. When Candide makes it to Paraguay, a major coincidence occurs, as the commander of the town they arrive at is Cunegonde's brother. This scenario is very reminiscent of Romeo and Juliet, as the lovers are never allowed to be together. When he announces his love of Cunegonde to her brother, he attacks Candide, and in order to survive, the normally peaceful Candide has to kill Cunegonde's brother. After a few days of wandering, Candide and Cacambo find themselves in a utopian city by the name of El Dorado. This place makes Candide question his opinion of Westphalia being the best place on earth because the ground in El Dorado is made up of gold and jewels. He considers staying here, but without Cunegonde there would be no point, as he sees her as his only treasure. When Candide and Martin arrive in Paris, they mingle with the people of the city and many cling to them because of their wealth. Later on, they meet an abbé of Perigord who eventually ends up manipulating Candide, stealing a big chunk of his jewelry and arresting him. However, Candide manages to escape to England with Martin by bribing officers with the little he had left. Then, in Venice, Italy, Candide is unable to locate Cacambo, and the same goes for his lover Cunegonde. They do manage to find the chambermaid for Cunegonde's mother, however, but unfortunately she was turned into a prostitute. Candide then buys the rights and freedom of Cacambo and ventures to the Ottoman Empire. Being the oh-so-kind person Candide is, he pays for the freedom of everyone working on the gallery. This includes his mentor Pangloss, his lover Cunegonde, and the wise old woman. The remainder of them buy a farm and live there for the rest of their lives.